Hey there guys, and welcome back to Alex Invest. For those of you who don't know, I'm Alex. I'm a business owner with a degree in economics, and today the markets are green, but just a little bit. You could almost say they're mixed, but we're sticking with the green today because, as I said, we are being optimistic this month. Now, this is the opposite of what we saw yesterday, which was a big sell-off in the market for the first trading day of 2021, right? And there's actually quite a few interesting things to note about that. In the last 20 years, only 8 of those years, we've seen the first trading day of the new year be in the red. And out of those 8 years where we started the year in the red, 4 of those years at the end of the year ended higher in the market, and 4 of those years ended at a lower price in the market in total. We basically have a 50-50 here, right? But what's also very interesting about this is in all 8 of the years where we saw the first trading day of the year in the red, this actually led to a choppy and volatile January. That's in 100% of those 8 years. So perhaps we're in it for a bit of a choppy January. But that being said, I do still see gains in the market here, and it's not like all stocks are just going to magically go down now. I still see good things for 2021, and I do think this is going to be one of those 4 years where we did see the market positive after the year. But it is definitely something to keep in mind, especially for this January month. Before we get into it, I did want to mention that I actually just started an Instagram, and it will be in the description, but it is also on my channel page on YouTube. So please go check that out. I will be posting every time I put a video out, but I'm also starting to post stories where I talk about sort of the trades that I've made throughout the day and give you guys kind of updates on the things that I see where I'm not making a full YouTube video on it at the time, right? So today I talked about that I bought some more Extro shares as well as a new stock, which you guys are going to hear about later this week, and that's Ocean Power Technology. So watch out for that. I do see this one growing similar to F-Cell actually. Anyways, today I wanted to talk to you guys about health sector stocks and sort of the general trend that we have seen with the gains in this sector, you know, like GLSI, for example, that's Greenwich Life Sciences, and Veru, which are both breast cancer research companies, and we're going to compare those to Immute Up and Cella's Life Sciences, two that actually spiked mostly on news of GLSI spiking 1,000+% at the beginning of December, right? We're also going to look at BNGO quickly and CHEK as well, and just sort of compare them on a little bit of news and determine whether or not a lot of this is hype right now or actually founded on very good news. I would also love to hear what you guys think about this in the comments because, you know, these are just some of the trends that I'm seeing and I could be wrong here. Veru and CHEK are two that I do want to buy, but the price right now for me is just a little bit too high to be worth it. So the hype for these stocks right now all started with GLSI, that's Greenwich Life Sciences. And I'm sure you guys have heard of this one because this is the one on December 9th that spiked over 1,000% and made people millionaires overnight. And this jump was surrounding positive news on their breast cancer research for their phase 2B clinical trials, where they had a 100% survival rate in these studies. Now, obviously that is insane news, so it makes sense that we saw such a big spike, but we got to remember that it is phase 2B clinical trials here, and we're not in phase 3 clinical trials yet here even, so there's still plenty still to go before we see the true success of this company. You know, there's still all the other logistics as well that need to be dealt with. So we did, from the highs, come back down 73% since then, and that makes sense because they still aren't fully proven yet. Although if we can see similar results in their phase 3 clinical trials, I do see the stock price moving back up to those highs. I am not currently invested in GLSI, and I'm not sure I want to invest in them because there's a few other ones that I would be more likely to invest in. For example, Veru. That's ticker symbol VERU. And from December 8th, but really from December 9th to December 16th, we've seen a 200% increase in this stock. And this again is because of positive news on their phase 2 clinical trials for their enobosarm breast cancer research. This is specifically when these cancer cells are immune to chemotherapy. So very interesting stuff there too. I am excited about phase 3 clinical trials as well. But again, their news wasn't as positive as GLSI, for example, but they still had a huge jump, and they're in earlier phases of their clinical trials still, and they will take longer to get to that end goal. Of course, if we see them have positive phase 3 clinical trials, I do see a similar jump as what we saw in GLSI actually. Again, this isn't one that I'm currently in because I am waiting for a little bit of that hype to die down, and I think the hype really did start with GLSI here. Everybody saw this huge jump in this company, and we're like, oh, health companies, this is the next big thing. And I somewhat tend to agree with everything going on, of course, as well with COVID. People have sort of realized how important this health sector really can be, especially for something as important as cancer research. That being said, the hype around these stocks has inflated the share price of many stocks in the health sector right now, and is why I am currently not invested in most of them, and I'm actually waiting for the price to come down a bit. We saw similar huge jumps in both Immute Up and Cella's Life Sciences as well. Now, both of these companies were very similar to Greenwich Life Sciences because they came up about 250 to 300% and then dropped right back down, because both of those specifically had no news really that came out on them other than the fact that GLSI had a huge run up because of their positive news on their clinical trials. So since those highs, both of these stocks have tanked again. And this could be some foreshadowing of what's to come moving forward here potentially with, for example, Veru. I'm not saying that these huge gains that we've seen are unwarranted. In fact, I think that in some of these companies, they are very warranted, like GLSI, for example, which has come back down now to a reasonable price where I think they should be actually around. Now, the next stock we saw making huge movements of over 650% in our little hype timeline in the health sector here is Bionano Genomics. Now, since December 28th, this stock had risen 650+%, like I said, and since then, again, we have come down 28%. And again, this price move isn't fully unfounded here. We have seen positive news on their Sapphire technology for optical genome mapping here, and they also came out with a study on autism genes and sort of the risks there and what they can do about it. So this is founded, but again, is it a 650% plus founded news? And I would argue that perhaps it isn't, and that's why we did come down again, those 28%, and we may actually continue seeing the price come down a bit from here. Now, BNGO's share price explosion did happen almost a month after the other ones, actually 3 weeks, and it was on positive news, but I think some of the drivers there were the original GLSI stock that skyrocketed over 1,000%, and these other ones that have just absolutely been skyrocketing, right? And so on any sort of positive news, regardless of how positive really it is, I think there's an extra added hype element there that's pushing these prices higher than they should be being pushed right now. And so although a price move to the upside for BNGO is definitely warranted, a price move up by 650% may not be fully warranted. And so I think you got to keep that in mind when you're investing in some of these stocks, because it could be that the price actually does come down when this hype kind of dies down. And now, surprise, surprise, after we saw BNGO skyrocket, what do we see next? CHEK Cap Limited rising over 350% as well since December 31st. Now, this is a stock that is working on a pill that you swallow for early detection in colon cancer. And you basically swallow a pill, a camera goes through your body, and you check out what's going on. And it's much more pleasant than the other methods that we currently have. But again, no real news that came out on this one either. And just a huge price increase, I think, stemming again originally from that GLSI stock ripping up over 1,000%. But then again, sort of from BNGO skyrocketing 650%. BNGO is a very popular stock right now. And although these two stocks are in completely different industries in the health sector, they are still both in the health sector. And I definitely think that the news that people are hearing, that we've seen these huge price increases on some of these health sector stocks, is making there be so much more hype and making more and more investors sort of hop into these stocks in hopes they will see similar gains, right, in such a short amount of time. CHEK has only come down 14% since those highs, and there is definitely some potential here for big growth moving forward. You know, they do have very good financials, being able to hold them steady all the way through 2021. They have what seems to be a very good working product, but again, they're at the very early stages here. You know, they have not received FDA approval yet. They have no revenues, and again, really just starting off here. So I could see the price come down a bit on this one as well. So now to sum up here, I'm not saying that these health sector stocks are not a good investment. In fact, I think that in some cases they are a very good investment. But I also think that in general, these health sector stocks are very inflated right now, and you could potentially get a better price in the future before they do continue to rocket upward, especially for Veru and CHEK. Those are my two actually favorites right now. And of course MVMD, and that's one that I talk about on my channel, but they've actually had similar price rises here in the past, and then they did a public offering and now they came down. And I have mentioned that I think this is a great investment right now. But essentially, if these companies do continue to bring out positive news and their technology and what they're working on does end up working, then of course these share prices are going to be much higher than where they are right now. That being said, they are still a risky investment right now, and I think they could come down before they come up. So buying now might hurt you, whereas buying in, let's say, a month from now might be a better investment. Of course, in the meantime, anything can happen. These stocks can rise 300%, but they could also fall, you know, 30, 40, 50%, like we saw, for example, for GLSI. But my favorites, again, are Veru, CHEK, and MVMD. And Veru and CHEK, I'm not in either of those right now, and I will be planning on getting into those soon once I see a bit more of a price drop. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for the video today. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment as always. And other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.